Alright, I think it's time to get started for this year's trip. Oh, first big trip. Not sure how many I'll do this year, but we'll see. Some of you may know where I am. Started like a real making YouTube series 3 years ago right here. The Cowboy Inn, Baggs, Wyoming, which is the official starting point of the Wyoming BDR. But we are not doing the Wyoming BDR. Well, not really. So what we're actually doing is the BDRX, the Red Desert Loop. At least we're attempting to today. And then kicking off the Colorado BDR, heading north to south. A couple reasons for that. Today is July 5th, Saturday. So it's the 4th of July weekend. Going south to north on 4th of July weekend would be an absolute nightmare on the Colorado BDR. With all of these trails just being filled with people and no camping and nothing. So we're going the opposite way. So that should put me in the San Juans just during the week, probably mid to end of this coming week. So it's gonna be perfect for that, less traffic. And just to add a little bit extra flavor to it, since I did the Arizona BDR in 4 days, I'm gonna take a little bit more time, and I'm also including the BDRX from the Wyoming Red Desert. On the bike, nothing much has changed. Yeah, I think I just replaced the GoPro Mini, and instead of wearing separate armor, like the Under Armour plus the jersey, I now have the Moscow Moto Basilisk integrated armor piece. I'm still a believer in separate armor and jerseys for like normal day riding, but on trips like these where it can just rain constantly, I wanted something without a separate rain layer. It was the biggest hate on my entire trip, is having to don on that rain layer, getting so hot and so uncomfortable. So waterproof integrated armor so far has been pretty comfortable, though I haven't really put it through its paces yet. So also not wearing a backpack anymore. I have one of those 8-cat harnesses just to put less weight on me. See how it goes. Let's get started. But it looks like there's a few other bikers turning off up there, so they must be running the BDRX as well. So I'm sure I'll be running into them on and off throughout the day. The road is a little wet, but nothing too crazy. So from the beginning here back to Baggs, it's 126 miles. The whole BDR is rated, BDRX is rated for 150. There's definitely some wet spots. Wyoming dirt is very deceptive. Even if it doesn't look bad, it can turn into an absolute quagmire. So I'm going to take it easier until I figure out what the condition of this stuff is. Woo. Very slippery right there. Still pretty early in the morning too, so as we're heading further west and north, might get out of this stuff too. Let's see. That camera angle is messed up. Just had to make a quick adjustment to the front-facing GoPro. Came a little loose, and I was overtaken by those other guys, so I'll be probably running into them on and off. Wide open prairie for now. Supposedly, I don't really know too much about the BDRX, so I can't speak to it too much. But supposedly there is like a big canyon rim overlook, and an old ghost town, things of that nature. We'll see what we run into. It's probably why they call it a red desert, looking at the roads here. Hey, red. Definitely gives me some PTSD from the Wyoming full BDR and from Montana, riding this stuff like fully wet. Oh, never want to do that again. Definitely feel like I have a special relationship with Wyoming and a special love for this state. While it might not be the most exciting to drive through compared to like a Utah or Colorado high peaks and stuff like that, it has a ton to offer. It is so remote. It has really that frontier feel to it. Really fell in love with it during the Wyoming BDR. That was actually the first BDR I've ever ridden. Great experience. Really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. And then a year later, on my Continental Divide trip down from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, I drove through Wyoming all the way from like the Montana border, the Idaho border, directly to Colorado. So it basically made an X through the entire state between the Wyoming BDR and the CDT. So I've seen a lot of it off-road, and there's a good amount of variety to it, but it's always enjoyable, rugged riding, very peaceful, very remote, and you just got to be careful. You can't underestimate Wyoming. Even if it's summer, even if it's nice out, things can change in an instant and be some of the toughest riding you can do on an adventure bike. Alright, I feel like this is going to be a good spot to start doing some drone videos, so I'm going to pull over and do that. First drone video of the year. Hopefully it turned out nice. Not the most scenic thing necessarily, but it was still nice. Let's see. We still got a long way to go. The totally dead horse right here. That's Wyoming. A very, very easy riding so far. Blind curve. Let's see. Ah, there we go. Driving through some horse shit for good luck. Oops, big ruts. Little PTSD from the CDT New Mexico with the ruts. Or the whole bike disappeared and I had to pull it out of the ditch. That was crazy. Only crash though on that entire trip. Can't complain. But it could have been worse. Should check out that episode, the big crash. Was just outside of Cuba, New Mexico. It was a kind of road like this, just around the turn, and I was just fixing the turn on my GoPro, and all of a sudden in the middle of the road, a massive rut just spanning the entire road. No way around it. Was about 3-4 feet deep, even 5 feet, like towards the far right. And it was just like 10-15 feet away. I slammed on the brakes, but I slid into it going like 1 mile an hour, 2 miles an hour top, so nothing happened. But pulling out the bike was a little bit of work. So grateful to have a lightweight 701. Tell you that. You can kind of get an idea of what the road looks like when it's wet based on those tire marks. We're going straight. Yes. Entering the Adobe Town wilderness area. Nice and rocky terrain, fun riding. Perfect track so far to get back into the groove. It looks like a little bit of a washout here, huh? No problemo. Nice. That would have been a big jump. Sometimes it's really hard to see ruts and drops and stuff like that. But it looks like a good part of this road is washed out. That was a big one. Originally I was planning on actually camping out here, so I would have been driving from the Front Range of Colorado the 5 hours to Bags, and then getting started on this. But in the end I decided against it. It was just going to be too much one day, especially getting to like a good place here. Oh shoot, let's see. Very washed out. Okay, no big deal. But yeah, that would have been fun. There's like a camping ground, camping. I mean, there's dispersed camping technically everywhere, but I was hoping to go to that rim overlook, but that's in like the last third of this. That would have made for an extremely long day, and I just wasn't gonna do that on the first day of riding. This is really fun. It's a nice track. Good choice as always by the BDR team. Sand. We got sand. Up and over. Up, take a right. Easy turn to miss. Up. Very sandy. Crank up the steering dampener. Steering dampener is such a great investment. I know they're expensive, but I wouldn't want to not have it on any bike. It's just such a game changer riding these types of things. Makes life a lot easier. Shows the right side of the road here. All good. Hey. Well, typically in a group, try to stay in one lane, but guys have been nice, so can't really scoot back further here since there's a luggage on the rack, but very sandy. Very sandy again. This is really deep. Getting pretty toasty. Yes, that's one downside of this waterproof gear. Even if the vent's open, it does get a little toasty. I mean, it's only 70, but if you're working in sand, trying to keep the bike upright, I mean, you'd get hot in anything. Ooh. Ooh. Big drop. It's been a very sandy couple of miles. Right now it's fine, but overall, I think I'm gonna have to pull over and let the drone out and get some water. Ugh. Man, that was a section. That was a ton of fun, and it was not easy. That whole area in the drone video. The drone is a little further away, so you can't see the stuff, but there are some ledges where you really have to pick your lines. And of course, always nice sandy. Wonderful riding. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, I'm glad I decided to do this BDRX. That was a lot of fun. It is, let's see, it's 10 o'clock now. It's just about the low 70s. Could be cooler for my liking, but at least it's not what we had in Arizona with like 112 or whatever it was in the end. It is very sandy here, so speed is limited, especially since it's 2-track sandy, so you're always kind of stuck in this one specific like tire track mark or so. And as soon as you get out of it, your wheel starts like turning in a way you don't want it to turn. On an open like desert or sand, it's a little easier when you can make your own track and not follow some kind of tracks. Let's see, we got about 89 miles to go. Of that, probably like 20 or so, or 15, 20 are just pavement. Coming up, this is the geological area here. Forget what it was called, and I'm not gonna look at a GPS right now. Otherwise, I'm just gonna drive into a ditch. But that was the best section so far of the BDRX, is right at that Adobe wilderness, like right before that waypoint. It is challenging. It's, when comparing to like the Wyoming BDR, it's probably definitely one of the more challenging sections. But was a blast. Almost Utah type riding. Ooh. Alright. Let's keep going. It started out pretty mild and almost a little boring, but definitely picked up. But this is much more casual than it was earlier. Rich. Interesting. There's just, oh, it's just a big washout. Okay, there's the road. All good. Paper maps out here. Ugh. I admire the guys that did that back in the day, but God, that would suck. I mean, I know how to navigate on a paper map, but between washouts, like just bad coordination, like so many intersections on the trails, it would just be a nightmare to deal with. So I am very glad I have GPS, and 2 at that. Which I'm pretty happy with the Garmin. I think it does a great job overall, but it doesn't do what I need it to do, so it's my backup device. Alright, got some open roads. Oh, finally some airflow. Alright, this is the turn off for those ancient ruins. Let's see. Take a quick look at them. Looks a little run down. That's pretty cool though. We're gonna keep going. Alright, made it to Cow Central here. And a water crossing, it looks like. Oh, at least they're going ahead of me, so I know it shouldn't be too horrible. There we go. That wasn't bad. Thank you, cows. Some great views once in a while here to the left, or some kind of mesa or rim, but we can't get close enough here. Though I know that rim overlook is coming up, but still a little while to get there. Oh, look at that view! Amazing. Nice. Don't realize how high up you are here. 7,500 feet. I really see the red desert namesake right there on the rim. Though on the GoPro, you're zoomed out so much, it's probably hard to tell. I mean, what an absolute insane place here. It's a great view. So the Wyoming Plains, this is I-80 in the background. Long way down. But it's time to get going again. Preferably without tipping the bike over. Ooh. Ah, it's a little sideways. Okay. There we go. Okay. Fix the mirror a little. Alright. Let's keep going. We got 56 miles back to Bags and then another little while to get to Steamboat Lake for campground. Oh, it looks like we're gonna get on a faster road here too. Nice. That's a beautiful ride. I mean, honestly, I highly recommend you do the BDRX, Red Desert, Wyoming. It would be a great thing to start the Wyoming BDR too. To stay at the Cowboy Inn, get up in the morning, do the BDRX, stay at Boyer Ranch, or go camping somewhere along the way here. I mean, it's not a duplicate of anything else you see in the Wyoming BDR, so it's a good preparation to take it to the shakedown ride, but a great addition, really is. Alright, we're turning off that main road. See if there's just another big road. Well, it looks a little bit smaller, but looks fast nonetheless. Some people living out here, huh? That's a little far away from civilization. Because Bags is 40 miles and that's not really civilization. Bags is like 400 people, a gas station, and a hotel. Alright, we turned into some true track again. I thought it was going to be fast roads all the way to Bags, but looks like we can do some riding still. Oh, and we got a gate. First gate of the day. Alright, let's keep going. Alright, so we're coming up to the end of the BDRX Wyoming Red Desert. Took about, I see 4.5 hours riding, but I started in Bags, so I would say 4 hours just the off-road section, 5 hours to Bags and back. Honestly, I'm impressed. It was a really, really fun section to ride. It started out a little slow, but I mean, it was just a blast, especially that more difficult section and along the rim. Definitely worth it. No need to make it a multi-day ride unless you really want to, but it's an easy, half to 3/4 day. So from here, getting to the hotel, campsite, etc. I'll be moving on to the Colorado BDR now. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to structure these mini-series again. I think the Wyoming BDR-X will be just a solo day, a solo episode, but we'll catch up on the Colorado BDR. Alright, let's debrief for today's riding, which was the Wyoming BDR-X Red Desert. So they started out in Bags, where I started the Wyoming BDR about 3 years ago, just about a month later. But was a little concerned with the weather because it rained and thunderstormed the night before that it was going to get wet and muddy, but overall zero issues with rain on the BDRX. So honestly, it was a great time. I started out pretty mild.
About 1/3 of the way in, right around the Adobe Wilderness area, it got a little sporty, which is amazing. Only for a couple of miles, lots of sand, big ledges, things like that. Then turned easy again, and then ultimately riding along the rim with that massive, really cool overlook. Just really an amazing little trail. Highly recommend it. If you consider doing the Wyoming BDR or the Colorado BDR, just attach it because it's a lot of fun and it's beautiful. From there, went back to Bags, gassed up, and then headed down towards the Colorado BDR. So we jumped on the connector for the BDRX, for the Colorado BDR, and yeah, made our way to Steamboat Lake. So catch up on the Colorado BDR mini series if you're curious of how that went.